depression is a state that is unhappiness plus despair plus fatigue. Okay? Depression is a state, and it is a state that is actually combined of 3 different states: unhappiness, despair, and fatigue. And to prove that to you, I can tell you that you can't be depressed when you have energy. Okay? This is very important to understand in terms of controlling your energy levels. When you're upset and you have energy, the result is anger. But you cannot be depressed when you have high energy. Depression automatically limits the amount of energy available to you. Anger is what results when you're unhappy and have energy. Anger is unpleasant, but can be used as motivation and is nowhere as crippling as depression. Okay? Depression is also different from sadness, because with sadness, there's at least a release when you cry. Sadness is much easier to control. Maybe you watched a sad movie or had a sad memory or something like that, and you can cry, and sometimes that's enough. With depression, there's no release. With depression, you lose even the will to fight the feeling, because fighting back against that feeling feels pointless. Depression as a whole is a string of negative thoughts and feelings that link to negative feelings in your physiology, or vice versa. Negative feelings in your physiology manifest themselves in negative thoughts. So some of those thoughts would be like, I'm a failure, life is pointless, I have nothing to look forward to, and I'm going to experience even more pain in the future, so I might as well not even fucking try. These are the most consistent thoughts that I had, that a lot of guys have, but you're going to have your own personal triggers. Out of all the negative states that you can possibly have, depression is the worst one. The feelings of hopelessness, nausea, self-hatred, and suicidal ideation are nightmarish. And I can remember these feelings very clearly. I would not wish that on my worst enemy. So what you have to remember is this: the number one rule in fighting depression is don't let yourself slip into depression. Okay? It's much more difficult to pull yourself out of a depressive state than to stop yourself falling into one. So the number one thing you have to do is play defense, and that means doing your best and being consistently vigilant not to fall into a depressive state, and being constantly on guard and mindful of your mood so that you can prevent it from happening. Okay? It's like an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. So we are playing defense, and 90% of this is using preventative medicine. Okay? So to do this, you need to recognize your major depressive triggers and be able to constantly monitor your mood. So the mental health community has done a good job of raising awareness for depression, but it's also created many misconceptions of what depression actually is, because depression is not an illness. By thinking depression is an illness, it creates a victim mentality and a rationale for making excuses and blaming your depression. Okay? I'm not saying that there are not generic or genetic factors involved in depression, but depression is a state, no more, no less. It's a physiological state and it is combined as feeling and thoughts, but is a physiological state. Okay? And throughout your daily life, you are constantly going from one state to the other, from happy to sad to angry to depressed. These are states. Okay? This is not an illness. It is a state determined by a combination of your physiology and your mentality. Okay? It's true that depression has a genetic component, and you might be more predisposed to enter that state than others, and you might be predisposed because you have lower levels of key neurotransmitters, but you can 100% raise these neurotransmitters naturally and chemically. Okay? This is not like diabetes. This is not like cancer. This is not like having a broken arm where you need medicine and you need specific scientific treatments to fix that. Okay, depression is a state, and it's a state that is within your control. And I'm not telling you that to minimize your pain, and I'm not telling you that to try and shame you. I'm telling you that to give you hope that you are able to make changes. Because once you start feeling like depression is out of your control, now you become a victim. You relinquish your personal power to that depression, and then once you achieve that victim status, then you are out of control and you're not able to make positive changes. But when you take responsibility and you recognize that it's a state, you realize that your state is your mood, your state is your reality, your entire life is just a series of state shifts, and we link external events to our state, but in reality, your state is completely internal. You have complete control over your state. Okay, you don't have control over the things that happen to you, but you have 100% control over how you react to those things. Okay, and if there's one thing you're going to take from this podcast, I recommend you take that. You have complete control over your state at all times. Okay? I'm not saying that I don't get mad. I'm not saying that I don't have negative states. It's a daily battle, but I recognize that I am in control of these things. No matter what happens to me, no matter how many bad things happen to me, I am in control of my reaction. And there is no situation where understanding that is not beneficial. Okay? There is no situation where trying to control your state in a positive way is not beneficial. Even if, say, you lost a loved one and something, or something horrible like that happened, even if you can increase your mood by only 10%, that is beneficial. Okay? It is 100% beneficial every time to be able to control your state.